Thank you everybody for your time this afternoon. Just a quick one before we get started. I just wanted to get a sense of who was in the room with me for this session. So if we were to split your organisation in half with IT on one side and other business functions on the other, who would say that their role aligns more with IT? Yeah, okay. And in terms of Power BI awareness, who here has either used Power BI or is currently using Power BI within their organisation? Okay, great stuff. So, just to start off, just to introduce myself very quickly. So my name is Andy McClean and I'm the Data and Analytics Director at Circle. And for the last 20 years, I've been working alongside both public and private sector organisations, helping them solve real business problems with data and reporting solutions. The last 12 years I've been a consultant for a number of Microsoft partners, and it's probably within that time that I've noticed the biggest shift from data projects being the responsibility of IT to now really moving more towards being business-led and more facilitated by IT. My role now is very much around digital transformation, so helping organisations implement and devise strategies for adopting technology, and also architecting and building the solutions, and increasingly doing a lot more work with adoption as well to make sure that the solutions that we build are embedded within our customer organisations. So just a quick one about who Circle are. So we are the digital transformation experts. And how we do this is built on a really strong platform of deep technical expertise across a range of different Microsoft products. So we can see on the screen here everything from Power BI, Dynamics, SharePoint, the Power Platform, and all of these complementary technologies allow us to deliver services to our customers around our core capabilities. And these are around data and analytics, business intelligence, bespoke business platforms, also around establishing tools for modern workplace, understanding opportunities for increasing performance and profitability, and also custom web and mobile application development as well. And why we do this is to help our customers embrace digital transformation and embed their own digital DNA. And this is based on core principles. So the core principles are around modernized applications, centralized data, digitizing documents, task automation, and putting tools in place that allow you the flexibility to work anywhere. We've delivered a wide range of solutions for organizations in all sorts of different sectors, all sorts of different sizes, each with their own unique digital DNA. And really we believe it's that expertise and experience that makes us best placed to help people with their digital transformation journey. So what I'd like you to take away from this session today is an understanding of a few key concepts. So first of all, I'm going to explain to you what I would call a typical data and reporting challenge, which I like to call Excel hell. And if you've seen our banner at the end of the vendor area, you'll understand exactly what that means. And I'm sure a lot of you will resonate with that problem. I'm then going to tell you about how you can avoid Excel hell by delivering a single version of the truth for data and information within your business. We're going to get into the details behind the technical implementation, so the tools that are in the Azure platform and Power BI to actually help you implement this centralized platform. I'm going to walk you through an actual real-world example with a customer of ours and how they went on that same journey to avoid some of the pitfalls that I'm talking about. We also need to be able to understand how we measure the return on investment. So when we're trying to put these projects in place, building that business case is really important so that we can show to the business the benefits of putting in a solution like this. And finally, I'll leave you with some of my top tips from delivering these kind of projects so that you can ensure that your project's successful as well. Okay, so first of all, I'm going to concentrate on this typical reporting challenge. Now, whenever I go into any company for the first time, it's such a common requirement or a common problem that we uncover very early on. And it's around this multiple silos of separate information within a business. So we can see on the screen here, we've got some examples. We've got these could be any system really, but we've got HR, we've got CRM, we've got finance, we've got sales, We've always got those Excel spreadsheets that are lurking about somewhere that you rely on heavily. And if anyone's ever used or heard the phrase Excel database, then we absolutely need to come and have a chat, because that's something we can definitely help with quite quickly. But as you can imagine, each of these different systems, they all play a really key part within your organization. They're specialized systems. But really, you typically need bits of information from each of these different systems to really get that holistic view of performance across the business. And if I use an example of the monthly reporting pack, or that regular weekly and monthly reporting that we're all asked to produce, typically, historically, that was an IT request. It was something that went into IT, it went into a queue, and actually the business needs to react quicker than that. So what happens? People export it out into Excel. Excel is the fantastic stopgap for any problem in your process or your solutions. We can get it into Excel and we can start to manipulate it. So that's fine, but then you need bits of information from each of those systems in Excel, and before you know it, you've got this kind of this complicated data extraction process. Everything's been put into Excel, that manual intervention or that manual manipulation of data. And this approach actually has a lot of challenges now. It might solve a short-term problem, but then that report needs to be run next month, or it needs to be run next quarter. And all you find then is that this has become a bit of a beast of a process that grows to become actually business critical. And what actually happens is we've got a reliance now. We've got a reliance on people. What happens if those people aren't around to produce those reports? Human intervention, do we trust the numbers that are in those reports? I'm sure we've all sat in meetings where we've got different versions of numbers to other people, and that really stops you becoming data-driven. And also, that person's off sick, does it happen? All these kind of things now on this manual process. I mean, we see everything from days a week. I've got a customer at the moment that's got 3 people spending 2 weeks each every month just to tell you what happened last month. So for information to be useful, it has to be both accurate and timely, and this approach just doesn't lend itself to that. So what you end up seeing then is reports. You all believe you've got the same idea of what the numbers are, but actually you get this inconsistency. And for all these people that want to act on the information, whether that's suppliers, customers, board members, team managers, these people want to become data-driven and want to act on the information, but how can you do that if you don't understand or trust the numbers that are being put in front of you? So people start going looking for other reports. We don't know what to trust. We can't really start to believe what we've got in front of us. And it's a real hurdle to get over for true digital transformation. So there's no judgment in this room, so would anybody agree that that's kind of represents their approach in some way? Yeah? So recently I was with a finance director at a recent customer of ours, and we do an initial kind of discovery engagement. Let's talk about your current approach. And within the first 10 minutes, the finance director stopped me and he said, "I'm really sorry, Andy, I think it's all fair to assume that the answer to your remaining questions for the rest of this day is going to be, it's in an Excel spreadsheet." So, this is completely normal and something we come across all the time. Now, in recent times, Power BI has become much more adopted in the market. Microsoft have sold Power BI as very much a tool that can solve all these problems, put a bit more rigor into your platform. And we're starting to see some adoption. A lot of people will come to us in the first instance and say, yes, we've been using Power BI, it's fantastic, but Power BI isn't a silver bullet to solve all of your problems on its own. Whilst it can connect into all of these different data sources, what you actually risk is just replacing the same problem. If you don't get that solid data foundation in place, Power BI on its own can't scale to the level that you need it to become a proper reporting platform. And so all we see is same challenge, different tool. Okay, so that's the problem. How do we solve it? So what I'm going to show you now is how we typically try and put a solution in place that will address the challenges that I've talked about so far. So what we do is we leave those source systems where they were, because actually, as I said, they're actually dedicated solutions, whether it's SAP or whether it's Sage, or these are proper systems to manage business process. All we're trying to do is bring them together into one place so that you can use the data effectively. So we look to extract that information automatically so that actually we can address that timeliness and accuracy issue. So now the data can be refreshed much more frequently. We can apply consistency to the rules so that we know that all the information is being represented in a consistent manner, and we've got a unified platform in the middle. And I've shown this here as an Azure platform. Now, you may have heard terminology such as Microsoft Fabric. That's another similar platform. Microsoft are moving towards Fabric from Azure. I'm covering Azure today, but these are the same principles and it's the same migration path. And also, if you're on AWS or Google, maybe not on Microsoft, the principles of what I'm talking about today still apply. So, if we establish this centralized data platform, what are the key principles of that platform that we need to bear in mind, and why do we put that in place? So, one of the key principles is diversity. So we're so aware now of the benefits of diversity in our communities, in culture, in the workplace, and data's no different. If you're only going and getting data from one system, you're missing out on the potential context of other systems, and that'll come out in the customer example that I'll show you later on. So diversity is really key, bringing these silos together into a centralized location. Okay, timeliness. So data has to be timely. If you don't find out the information you need until after the opportunity to intervene has passed, then you've lost that anyway. So making sure that you have the right information in front of the right people at the right time is critical to the success of a centralized data platform. So leading on to that is accuracy. Clearly that's one of our major challenges to get over, ensuring that data is accurate. Do we trust the numbers such that we can put this in front of people and get them to act on the information as they see it? Clearly, increasingly, we're seeing security being a big concern here as well. So by giving people more access to information than ever before, you also now need to make sure that it's only being accessed by the right people, and also providing more tailored service to people, so you're giving them their access to the information rather than leaving them access to all the information. It might not make sense, so giving people a much more tailored experience. Making data discoverable. Now, this is really key, because if we've got this fantastic centralized platform, but no one understands within the business how to access it, there was no point building to people in a way that they can understand. That's really critical. And finally, consumable. So the information in your SAPs and all your source systems, that is transactional data. It's not business friendly. It's not something that can be interpreted by people. It's not built for analytics. So one of the key principles of this foundation is that not only do we bring data together, but we structure it in such a way that you can actually use that then for analytics and get the answers that you need as quickly as possible. So they're the key principles of the platform, but also one of the important things when you're trying to position this within the business is that these kind of platforms have to deliver a business outcome. You have to focus on the business need, not the technical solution. So there's a few processes that this solution will go through. So first of all, as I said, bringing these different disparate data sources together, that's really key. And the first part of that is to actually move and combine the data into that central platform. So extracting the information out from each source and combining it in a centralized, unified format. So now, regardless of whether it's a structured a structured table of data, an unstructured document, a social media feed, we want to get all of this information into one unified format, so now we can start to build that analytics platform on top of it. The second thing that we do in the processing is to store and transform the data. And this is the data modeling part, and this is really key. So if you think of all those individual systems have got data related to their business function and how they want to store the information, we're trying to build a platform in the middle that represents your business. This has many benefits. So if you actually change solution over time, move to a different finance system, you don't want to rip out and redo all your reports again. That model in the middle is about representing your whole business, all the different silos of information in one place, and now it can have information from old legacy systems, new systems, all in one place. As a reporting user, you don't need to know which system it came from. That now reflects your business in terminology that your business users will understand. Touching on the discoverable element, making it available to people so people can look at a trusted source of information, understand the lineage, where this data came from, do I trust it, and how can I start to use it? So making it discoverable and easy to analyze is really key. And that allows us then to use that information as business users and act on and improve basically the purpose of the solution we built in the first place, so that business outcome, and that is really how you tie it back to that business deliverable. And it's really important that you focus on the business need rather than just the benefits of the technical solution. That's how you win people over, certainly on the business side of any organization. Okay, so what I'll take you through now is the actual technical implementation, just the aspects of the platform. And as I said, very similar, whether this is Fabric or whether it's Azure, it's the same principles under the hood. Fabric is just in its infancy at the minute, but this is more established in the Azure platform. So we can pull data from more sources than ever before, whether that be databases on premises, in the cloud. We can use APIs. We can still use that Excel spreadsheet that people don't want to give up, that's been hiding in the drawer. We can still use that, but all we want to do is pull that into a centralized platform, and we've got the tools to do that. So within the Azure platform, you have a range of different tools, and the fact this is a cloud platform means you've also got access to the data on the move. Again, right people, right information, right time. That might be you're not in the office anymore. So being a cloud-based solution means that you've got access to this all the time through native apps. So if we just pick on a few of the aspects here of the platform itself. So we're looking at Azure Data Factory. So this is an integration tool that allows us to connect into all of these source systems. There's connectors in there to get information out from all the sources that I've got on the top of this diagram, and build pipelines, so repeatable processes that can be run on a scheduled basis to keep your data up to date and timely. We then generally ingest data into a data lake, and this is our unified format. This is the central format that has got data in one state, regardless of whether it's structured, unstructured. The data lake is actually our central repository of information, and that will go through 3 steps. Typically through what is known as a medallion architecture. So you've kind of got your raw level as it came out from the source system itself, and gradually curating the data into a more analytics-friendly format as you move through the silver and gold layers. And what this allows us to do is to store history as well. So if you think of a source system that maybe uses employee status as an example here. So everybody's employee status in the HR system is just their current status. The data lake will actually keep the history. So if you want to look at headcount movement over time and more point-in-time analytics, your data lake becomes that really strong repository of your full data from any source over multiple times. You're not restricted as you are in your source system itself. And finally, the data warehouse. This is where we do that dimensional model. We create what is known as a star schema, and that star schema represents the business. These are your key business entities, clients, products, services, calendars. All that information allows us to slice and dice information from across your whole business, but in the purposes of analytics. So we can go right from a top-level figure across the whole organization and very quickly drill down to the lowest level. If we use a finance example, maybe a performance against budget, we can get right down through the nominal ledger, right down to an invoice within a few clicks. And that's a really powerful way of using this model that's been crafted for analytics. And on top of that, so once we've got this information to a really good format, the key here is the semantic model or the semantic layer. This is your business-friendly representation of the data. We've all written SQL queries before, trying to join tables of information together, sources of information together. The semantic model has all of that built in already. All the relationships, all the calculations, all the things you measure your business by are in the semantic model. That is your business-friendly layer. That's our single version for people to connect into and not need to understand where the data's come from, just how we use this for the need I have within the business to get the information out. And what we can do as that single source is we can connect into a range of different tools. And this is the key as well. We're not forcing people into a standard report. We've got a range of Microsoft tools that your users are using all the time anyway for different purposes. So, we're looking at Power BI for dashboards if you want that interactive data exploration journey. If you build regular presentations, again, you can make those data-driven, and that gives you the ability then to start exporting that out potentially to your customers. And adding a bit of narrative as well, I think, is really key. So not just, you can automate the creation of the presentation, but you can add your narrative to it as well, which is really important. There's still a place for Excel. We're not here to absolutely bash Excel. If you still want to do pivot table analysis, you want your numbers, you want your ad hoc analysis, you can still do that in Excel, but you're connecting to a single version of the truth in that semantic layer. And we're all aware now of the impact that AI and more predictive analytics can have on our business. So if you really want to start taking advantage of Copilot and ChatGPT and all these kind of functionality that you can have over your data and be much more predictive and proactive, you really need this strong data foundation underneath. Otherwise, it's just going to serve up the wrong answers, or maybe sometimes the answers you're not meant to see, in a much quicker time. So with that approach, going back to our original example, we've now got the data in our centralized data platform. We're going to get consistency. Whichever report we create, however we slice and dice, it's all come from a single source of information. So now we've got that consistency, that trust, and we can start to use the information. All the people now that are going to consume the information are a lot more comfortable that they can act on it. And now also as well, the people that were spending all those days per month doing manual report creation, they're now providing a much more proactive service to the business as more of a data analyst. Okay? So, as I said, sometimes the technical stuff makes complete sense, but we've got to build that business case for why this solution is going to deliver for our organization. And for me, there's 3 key areas that you need to focus on when you're trying to measure ROI. The first one is, can we increase revenue? You know, by having more proactive data, greater visibility, can we use this to improve our actual performance financially, by engaging better with our customers, our employees, all this kind of thing? How can we actually stay on top of information and use it to drive the business? It could be even the use of data products. So we're seeing this a lot more now. Data products where, you know, you're providing a service, but it's underpinned by good data. If you look at recommendation engines, or, you know, we're seeing a lot lately about dynamic pricing. These are all data-driven products. So there's lots of opportunity here to use data better in our services. The obvious one, save time and money. So again, just by removing that automating that manual effort all the time, there's an obvious efficiency saving there. And so that will always be something at the focus of any business case. And finally, the one that's sometimes overlooked, improving the customer and the employee experience as well. So if we can deliver a much more tailored service to our customers, that is going to drive more loyalty. They'll feel like they're getting a better service, and this all comes from data. Okay, so what I wanted to take you through now was, that was all the theory and the principles. What I did want to cover now was just an example of a real-world customer, and take you through how they actually, the journey they went on and how that actually played out technically. So this customer was a global manufacturer of technical equipment, and their sales director was basically producing manual reports in Excel every month, so a very senior figure within the business. And there's a range of different sources within their organization, but the key one, they were pulling information from their sales system. And the sales system was basically, salespeople, how are you performing against your target? Okay, so data's coming out, sales director's producing it manually, it's into Excel, he's having to manipulate it, it's not really in the hands of the salespeople themselves or the team leaders, it's being operated at a much higher level than that. So the first step was just to automate the extraction of the data from the sales system into the central platform. So we built the outline of the framework really quickly and automated that process. Straight away, the benefits were removal of that manual process for the sales director, a dashboard that's got all the security built into it. So one version of the dashboard could give insights to the sales director, each team lead, and each individual salesperson to make everything much more transparent and proactive. But we didn't stop there. We said, well, okay, sales versus target, that's just one way. What else might we want to measure in terms of how we interact, how the sales guy is performing? So we explored that a bit more, and we said, well, what about their opportunities? What about their pipeline? What about how are they interacting with their clients? So what we did was we integrated their CRM system, and this allowed us to bring in their opportunities, their pipeline, all the meetings they had, and we start to understand then the behaviors of each salesperson as well as their sales figure. So have you got a salesperson that's putting loads of effort in but just hasn't necessarily had the rub of the green? Have you also got someone that does really well from a particular customer and doesn't have to actually work that hard for it? And also, can we share good practice? So if someone's doing particularly well, what are they doing differently to everybody else? So that was obviously giving much more insight into the same dashboard. It's another silo of information now. We've got diversity. And the final thing we said was, well, what else could we do here? What else might we be able to influence the performance of a salesperson? So we brought in the HR system. And this gave us their working patterns. It gave us their sickness, their annual leave, and also their length of service. So have we got people performing better the longer they're with us? Are people leaving quite quickly? Is there an issue with our retention or with our onboarding process? Again, by bringing these three things together, we had much greater context and visibility of the overall performance of the sales team. So the ROI for this customer was an increase in company performance because they had greater visibility of the information in a much more timely fashion. An increase in revenue because they were able to provide a much more focused view of opportunities. So things that maybe got lost before in the CRM system, these are now everybody's primary focus because it's available to everybody. Efficiency savings, so again, just taking that sales director's activity out and having him being able to proactively look at it, save that manual time. The other thing that we looked at was process improvement, as I said, knowledge sharing across teams. So by understanding the behaviors of each salesperson, we could share best practice and actually improve how we operate with customers across the board. Improvement in engagement. The sales team were getting frustrated with having to enter information into different systems and go looking for it. We've been able to make that much more concise now in a single view for them and be much more proactive. And finally, customers got a much better experience as well. So again, with the sales team on top of every interaction with them, they were then able to put a much more tailored data-driven service to how they interacted with their customers as well. Okay, so the last part now is just to leave you with some top tips, things that I've obviously picked up on and what we see in our successful projects. So the first one is, don't worry too much about where you start. You know, we'd all love to have a view of the whole organization, but do start small and iterate. Get something out early that can get people on board, because sometimes the biggest problem is people not understanding the art of the possible. So do something, pick something important, deliver something quickly, and iterate from there. Focus on the business case. As I said before, make sure that you're playing back. You've really got what business need is this solution solving, rather than just putting a technical solution in. Get people on board really early, so engage both business and technical. So this isn't an IT project anymore. This is a business project that IT facilitate. You need people from across the whole business to put together on this. And by getting them on board early, it makes them feel responsible and you drives better outcomes. Understand that you're going to find some data quality issues. And again, for me, this is a secondary benefit of the whole thing. You're going to find gaps in your data. Either you're not capturing it currently or you're not capturing it very well. To make sure that you're actually capturing the information you need and to a higher standard. Don't underestimate how important the data model is. As I said, getting that model right, that central model that reflects your business, is really key. Manage people's manage the expectations of what people are going to get and what they're going to use and interact with. So we use a tool called Figma. It allows us to mock up Power BI reports in hours compared to days of a typical proof of concept, and it uses real Power BI components. So you can map out the whole journey of what the users are going to interact with really quickly and get them on board and get them to iterate from that earliest opportunity without spending lots of time. Don't underestimate adoption. It's really important that you support users and make sure it's embedded. Human nature, we all want to go back to where we're comfortable. It's a culture change as well as a technology change. So do put things in place, a plan in place to get people on board with the solution that you've built. And finally, accept that you're going to make mistakes. Learn from each phase that you do and move forward and take those learnings into the next phase, and you will finally deliver the solution that you're looking to build. Okay, so that's everything from me. If any of that's resonated, I'd love to take you through it in more detail. If you want to understand more about your own digital DNA and how you measure that, please come and find us at our stand, which is at the end of the vendor area on the left-hand side, or visit our website, circle.co.uk, for more information. But thank you, everyone, for your time.